Hey guys, Break here, and today we're going to be talking about what some of the richest players in WoW do to make their gold. Now these are not gold making methods that anyone can do. They do require quite a bit of learning, quite a bit of time, and sometimes even some real life money. So this isn't really a gold guide, but I just thought it'd be interesting to show you guys the kind of things they do, and maybe if you guys do want to try some of them, then you can. And I was kind of inspired on this topic by Jesse D, someone I follow on Twitter, who recently hit 100 million gold, which is pretty cool. And it got me thinking, who are the richest players and what exactly are they doing to make their gold? Personally, across all my servers, I think I have about 40 million, maybe 35. So nowhere near the 100 million right here. And then you just have to scroll down. Hickons, I think he has about 360 million gold. So he is pretty impressive with that, and you can see him on YouTube as well. And then there are people like Magicus, who has no longer got videos on his channel, but I believe he reached about 1 billion gold, 1,000 million. So yeah, some people have a ton of gold. Now please remember, when we're talking about these huge gold amounts, that is spread across multiple servers. No one has that sort of crazy gold on just one server, because it would take too long in terms of the gold making methods they use. So it's much easier if you want to be a super rich WoW player to have gold on multiple servers, and that's what I do, and that's what lots of the richest players do. So I'm going to go over 5 ways the richest WoW players make their gold, and we will start with the most obvious one that most people know, which is flipping on multiple servers. I've done lots of videos on this. I'll link one in the description below if you want to learn how. But basically what these players do is they have different characters on lots of different servers, and they just scan the auction house for cheap items. They will buy up that cheap item. They will go get it from their mail. They'll come back to the auction house and repost it for more. It's as simple as that. And usually the very richest players, they concentrate on BOE items and super rare transmogs, the really expensive items basically. But yeah, raid BOEs are the main thing that they'll concentrate on. So they'll do something like I have done recently. They will buy up some gauntlets for 1.3 million and they'll sell them for 2.3 million, as you can see on this tooltip here. And that's $1 million gold profit right there. Or they'll buy a ring for 800,000 and they'll resell it for 1.2 million, and that's 430,000 gold profit right there. These aren't 430 items, by the way, it just says that on the tooltip because it's bugged. So yeah, that is what these players will do, but they'll do it across multiple servers. So they'll just log in every day, they will scan the auction house like I show you in my video that I'll link below, and they purchase items, they repost them for more, and when you're doing that across like 20 servers, it builds up. So if you make 1 million gold in a week on one server, but then you times that by 20 servers, that's 20 million gold in a week, and then you can suddenly see how these players start to build up such a ton of gold. I'm pretty sure Hickons is on like 50 servers or something. I know Magicus was on sort of 100, so I think he was on every server. So some of these players, they're on every server, and they can start controlling the price of these items as well, and they can do everything. Because people often look at the region value of items. If you have an add-on like Trade Skill Master, it will show you the average region value. And if you're on every server, you can, and you have a lot of quite a rare item, you can kind of price it on each server how you want, and then you can start impacting the region value. And I'll talk to you guys a bit about that a bit later on, but it's a really powerful way of making gold, and it kind of reminds me of what some of the very richest people in real life do in terms of kind of setting the price of specific items in the economy to make a huge profit. So it's kind of similar in WoW, but anyway, let us move on to number 2. So the second more interesting way that some rich WoW players make their gold is through cross-server arbitrage and transferring servers. So what you're looking at here is one of my old videos from my very old gold cap challenge from a few years ago, where I went from 0 to gold cap in Legion, episode 67, as you can see. Took a while, but on this episode I actually transferred server using Battle.net balance. So I paid to transfer my gold into WoW token or Battle.net balance. And then I used that Battle.net balance to pay for a transfer. And you can actually do a guild transfer. So if you're a guild master, you can transfer a guild, and that's better because you can transfer more gold in the guild bank and more items in the guild bank. So that's the best thing to do. And what these players will do is they will buy up loads of items on one server that are quite cheap, and they will transfer to another server where that same item is worth a lot more, and then they'll just sell those items on that server. So all of these items you can see here, loads of furs, loads of herbs, loads of potions. I already posted a load. We got some Tabard of the Lightbringers. We bought loads of stuff, millions and millions of gold worth of stuff on one server, which was quite a high populated server, and I moved to like a low or medium pop server where the prices were sort of double. So everything I bought was selling for almost double, between 50% and double on the new server. So I bought about 3 million gold worth of items, and I probably sold them for 6 million, and that's 3 million gold profit. And it probably cost me about 1 million gold to do the transfer after changing everything into Battle.net balance. But still, that's a couple of million gold profit right there without really doing anything, not having to waste time farming. So this is an interesting way of making gold. I've not tried it in a while, so I'm not sure how well it works, but I presume it works pretty much the same. All you have to do is go on a website such as Undermine Journal, and then you can compare prices between servers, and all you have to do then is move from a server where the prices are quite low to a server where the prices are much higher, and it does work. It does work. Like I say, usually you have to do a guild bank transfer if you want to do this in bulk, and you have to do a bit of research and make sure you're not moving to a completely dead server where nothing sells. And I've seen some people sort of talk to Blizzard about this. You're not going to get banned by doing this, but Blizzard, I don't think they like it that much for obvious reasons. It kind of messes up the server's economies and stuff like that. So I wouldn't suggest doing this, but it's just a kind of interesting way that people have made millions and millions of gold, and it's not something you'd really know about or think about unless you properly did the research. So I thought it was interesting just to add this one in. Speaking of arbitrage, the third way that rich WoW players make a ton of gold is through battle pet arbitrage. I've done loads of videos on this, and I'll put a link in the description. But what you do, basically, you buy pets on one server, you learn the pet, you then log onto a character on another server, you cage the pet, and you sell it. So this doesn't require any sort of Battle.net balance or anything like that. This is a legitimate way of making gold, and it's a good one. I made a ton of gold doing this. I know loads and loads of people do it now, so I don't think it's quite as good as it used to be. Probably because, well, partly maybe because of all my videos on it, but it's still good. You just scan the auction house / battle pets, you see if there's any good pets on there, and then you buy them out. So what I do is I search for region market. Again, if you don't have Trade Skill Master or a similar add-on, it's going to be hard to do this. But this pet right here, its region market value is 900 gold, but on this server it's 50 gold. So I could buy this out for 50 gold, I could learn it, I could log on to a new server, cage it, and sell it on that server where it's probably going to be more like 900 gold or even more. Really simple, but it's a great way to make gold across server. And once you've been doing this for a while across servers and you've built up a bit of profit, you can then start doing the more profitable things such as flipping on multiple servers because you've built up that core bit of gold. That's how I made all of my gold. I basically started doing cross-server pet arbitrage, and when I built up a few million on each server, I then started flipping, and that's kind of how I made my gold. So it does work. It's not as good as it used to be because of all the competition, and the auction house changes really haven't helped the pet market. I hope they kind of fix that, but it still does work, and yeah, check out my video if you're interested in doing that. Now, the fourth method I'm going to talk about is investing, particularly investing in items to sell at a later date. And again, I'll link some videos in the description I've done on this, particularly things like holiday items. If you buy up a holiday item during the holiday or just after the holiday, it's really cheap. And if you wait kind of 9-10 months, it will usually go up in price. So any of the holiday mounts, for example, like the Minion of Grumpus, generally that's a surefire way to make gold. And I know a lot of the really, really rich players have invested tons, ridiculous amounts of gold in items such as that, in the hopes that eventually they'll go up in price and they can start selling them. It's a great way of making gold because it's pretty safe usually, though the past couple of years maybe not so much because inflation just hasn't really happened. But it used to be an absolute surefire way to make gold because of WoW inflation. So everything was just getting more and more expensive over time. If you bought a tabard of the Lightbringer sort of 5 years ago, 7 years ago, the price now, or at least the price 2 years ago, was like 4 times what it used to be. Just because of garrisons, and ever since Warlords of Draenor, everyone's had so much more gold. So inflation has been happening, and if you invested in items back then and you sell them now, they'd sell for a lot more in general. And what some of the very richest players have done is invest big money in TCG items. So you see here, this was also back in my old Gold Cap Challenge series. I bought the Reigns of the Spectral Tiger for 4.9 million gold. This was a couple of years ago. This is on the US servers, by the way. So 4.9 million gold, which was like most of my gold back then. And I did it as an investment because TCG items are no longer in the game. So the longer the game goes on, the more expensive they're going to get. And whilst over the past couple of years, deflation has meant that a lot of items that should have gone up in price maybe haven't. That hasn't happened with TCG pets. All TCG items, well, maybe not pets, but definitely mounts, all TCG mounts continuing to go up in price because they're just so rare. And they don't make them anymore, so there's a limited number of them. So I bought this one for 4.9 million gold. And right now on the US, there are only 7. This is the Undermine Journal, by the way. There's only 7 of these on the whole of the US, and they're pretty much all priced for 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. Okay, there's 10 million again. There's just one server where it's priced at 8 million. Actually, I don't think that's... 8 million gold. But apart from that, they're all priced at gold cap, and they probably sell for more. I know lots of people are selling these for more than gold cap. It's quite complicated to do that. You have to do it through like a third person, like a broker sort of thing. It's pretty complicated, but you can do it. You just have to do multiple trades. But at least it's at least worth 10 million gold now. So that's a 5 million gold investment that I've made. Now, obviously, it's taken like 2 or 3 years for that to happen. So it's a long-term thing. But if you're doing this on all of your servers, say you've got like 100 million gold, like Jesse D, and you invest it all in, or most of it in TCG mounts, you can wait a couple of years and you'll probably double your gold, or at least 50% it, double it, something like that. So investing in these items does work, but it doesn't always have to be this extreme. Before new expansions, there's often items that you can invest in that will probably go up in price in the next expansion because they'll just be harder to get. And I'll do videos about that closer to the new expansion. And like I say, holiday items and loads of items that you can invest in that will probably go up in price. And the WoW stock market did crash, particularly with BFA. When BFA started, price of lots of items went down because gold was harder to get. And to be honest, towards the end of Legion, the crash was also happening. But all throughout WoD and throughout most of Legion, inflation was crazy. So people who invested at the start of that boom got really, really rich. I love how we're talking about booms and busts like we're economists, but that actually is what happened. And people got very, very rich because of all the inflation that was happening. And in BFA, because it's been harder to get gold, there aren't sort of gold from garrisons anymore, or even mission tables. It's hard, and the gold went down, and prices of items went down, unfortunately. So the whole investing kind of took a hit, just like it did in the Wall Street crash. So it's not a surefire way to make gold, but I've invested in loads of items over the years, and most of them I've made a fairly decent profit on. So if you guys can think of an item that is going to probably go up in price over the next few months, it's not so easy at the end of an expansion, but as we move towards the new expansion, it will be easier. You guys can do a similar thing and you'll probably make a lot of gold as well. And the final thing I'm going to talk about is multiboxing. So this is something that a lot of people do. It's not something that I do, but I did try it and I did do a video series on it, as you can see here. What multiboxing is basically playing multiple accounts at once. It's perfectly allowed in the game. Blizzard allow it. You can't get banned from doing it. And obviously it's really powerful because when you're multiboxing, you can do loads of things that you couldn't do before. For example, you can go out and farm herbs at 5 times the rate that you otherwise would, or you can kill sort of monsters that otherwise you wouldn't be able to solo. You can farm rares. You can do loads of stuff that would be very hard to do with just one character. And yeah, definitely with herbs and ore and everything like that, it becomes so much better because you can mine it 5 times rather than just once. You know, you're making 5 times the gold. So what I am using here is IS Boxer Suite. You can see in the bottom left of my screen. That's what I use to multibox, and you guys can check out my videos if you want. Multiboxing is, you do have to invest in the software. It's not expensive, but you do have to invest. And obviously you have to pay for 5 accounts, so either with real life money or with gold, however you pay for your accounts. But whether you're paying real life or gold, it's going to be expensive. So you do kind of have to make it worthwhile, but particularly for the farmers. We haven't talked much about farmers in this series because usually the very richest WoW players don't do that much farming. They do other methods that are better for gold making in terms of gold per hour. But if you are going to be a farmer, then and you want to be one of the richest players, then you do have to multibox, because how can you compete with a multiboxer? You know, they can do 5 times less work than you and get the same amount. So it's the best way to make gold as a farmer, and you can watch some people on sort of Twitch who do this, multibox constantly and make an absolute ton of gold doing it. And talking of multiboxing, one thing that you can do is Multibox Sniping. For those of you who don't know what sniping is, it's basically when you run Trade Skill Master, the add-on, sniping setting, and it scans for really cheap items which are put up on the auction house. And when someone puts up an item for way cheaper than it should, it will pop up on your screen and you can buy it out. That's what sniping is. But multibox sniping is basically just sniping on multiple realms. It's not really even multiboxing, it's just sniping on multiple realms with multiple accounts at once. So as you can see right now, my screen has 6 different servers. This is 6 different characters on 6 different servers, all of them sniping at once. So obviously this means the chance of a new deal or a really good deal popping up is going to be much better than if I'm just sniping on one account. In terms of AFK gold making, this is obviously the best thing you can do because it's completely AFK apart from when a little sound pops up and you have to go and check if you should buy it or not. This is just a really bizarre way of making gold. I don't really know if many of the rich WoW players do it. I do know a couple that have done it because when I did this video, a couple of them messaged me about it. So some of them do it. I don't really know if it's very popular. Usually people who have this many accounts are multiboxers and they'll do a lot of farming. But maybe when they're AFK they do something like this. It's quite ridiculous, but it's an interesting way of making gold. So yeah, that is it guys. Those are 5 interesting ways that the richest WoW players make their gold. Some of them are stupid, some of them are pretty difficult to do, and some of them, yeah, you might even have to invest real money into. But those are 5 things that the WoW players do. If you're interested in learning more, then you can check out the videos I'll link in the description, which go into a bit more detail on these different methods. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and until next time, see ya.